Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens in the making. So let me ask you something straight up. What if I told you that one single hour a day could change the entire trajectory of your life? Not a decade, not a year, not even a month, just 1 hour. But here's the catch. That hour must be on purpose. That hour must be intentional. And if you give that hour the respect it deserves, it will pay you back with freedom, fulfillment, and a future beyond what you've dared to imagine. Because here's the truth. Success is never owned, it is rented. And the rent is due daily. And you start paying that rent with just one focused hour. Time is the great equalizer. The one resource that every human being receives in equal measure, regardless of their background, status, or circumstances. Whether you are a billionaire sitting in a high-rise office or a student grinding late into the night with a dim lamp, you are given the same 24 hours in a day. No one gets more, no one gets less. And because of this, time is not what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. It's not how much time you have that matters, it's what you do with the time you've been given. Hugely uncooked book that changed everything. A 69 debate between America as a policy, business leaders. Urban Dixon's going to be tougher in comparison, where time is what turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. Many people think they need a massive amount of free time to make a difference in their lives. That's a lie. What they really need is one solid, focused, intentional hour a day. 1 hour of clarity, 1 hour of development, 1 hour of doing what matters most consistently. That's the game changer. Most people drift through their days. They spend hours scrolling through their phones, watching videos, chatting, stressing over things they can't control, and filling their schedule with distractions that feel urgent but are ultimately unimportant. Days turn into weeks, and weeks into years. They wonder why they feel stuck, why they haven't grown, why their dreams seem to be fading into the background. But the reason is simple. They've allowed their time to be stolen by things that do nothing to move them forward. Contrast that with someone who decides to reclaim just 1 hour a day. 60 minutes of purposeful action daily becomes 365 hours a year. That's over 9 full work weeks of progress toward your goals, all from just 1 hour a day. Think about that. Most people say they don't have time to pursue their dreams. The truth is, they're spending their time without intention. If you want to separate yourself from the crowd, it doesn't take a massive effort, just a committed one. Let me give you an example. There was a man named James who worked a regular 9-to-5 job as a warehouse supervisor. He had a wife, 2 kids, bills, and barely any extra time. But he had a dream. He wanted to become a graphic designer and eventually run his own business. He didn't have the luxury to quit his job or take long breaks. But what he did have was 1 hour, just 1 hour at night after his kids went to sleep. Instead of watching Netflix, he used that hour every single night to study design, practice on free software, and build a small online portfolio. At first, nothing happened. For weeks, then months, it felt like no one noticed, but James stayed committed, 1 hour a day, no matter how tired he was. After a year, he landed his first freelance client. A few more months, and he had enough demand to match his monthly salary. 2 years in, James left his warehouse job and went full-time as a freelance designer. Today, he runs a design agency with the team, and he credits all of it to that 1 hour a day. He didn't have more time than anyone else. He just made better use of the time he had. You see, the clock is impartial. It doesn't care who you are. It doesn't pause for excuses, but it will always reward discipline. You can't control the clock. It will keep ticking whether you rise or fall, but you can control your commitment to use it wisely. 1 hour of purpose beats 10 hours of drifting. When you realize that time is the currency of life, you'll stop spending it and start investing it. That's when everything starts to change. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in personal growth, yet it's often misunderstood. Many people believe that success comes from big breakthroughs or sudden, dramatic actions, but in reality, success is usually born from small, consistent steps repeated over time. It's the quiet power of repetition that builds confidence, skill, and movement in the right direction. And that power can be ignited with just 1 hour a day. One single hour, used wisely and intentionally, has the ability to create momentum so strong that it pulls you toward your goals even when motivation fades. When you give 1 hour each day to something meaningful, reading, learning, practicing, building, you're not just adding knowledge or checking off a task. You're sending a signal to your brain, your body, and your future. This matters. You are creating rhythm. You are stacking wins. That consistency builds something deeper than motivation. It builds identity. Over time, you begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, and that's where momentum begins. Let's say you want to learn a new skill, maybe coding, speaking, marketing, design, or finance. The first few days will feel slow. You'll question yourself. You'll feel like nothing is happening. That's normal. Momentum doesn't start with speed. It starts with movement. But if you stick to 1 hour a day, you will begin to see shifts. Day by day, things that once felt confusing will become clear. Concepts that seemed overwhelming will become second nature. And soon you'll notice something remarkable. Not only are you getting better, you're getting faster. You're no longer pushing yourself, you're being pulled forward by your own progress. 1 hour compounds. 1 hour a day becomes 7 hours a week. That's 30 hours a month. That's 365 hours a year. The equivalent of more than 9 full-time work weeks. If you focused that time on any one goal or skill, how good could you get? How much could you grow? The answer is far more than most people ever will, simply because most people never stay consistent long enough to build momentum. Take the example of Priya, a young woman working a stressful job in customer service. She felt stuck, but she had a passion for digital marketing. With no formal education in the field and very limited free time, she made a simple decision. She would dedicate 1 hour every evening, no excuses, to studying marketing. She started watching YouTube tutorials, reading blogs, and practicing what she learned. At first, she didn't feel like she was getting anywhere, but after a few weeks, things began to click. After a few months, she built a blog and started managing a small social media page for a friend's business. 6 months later, she applied for a part-time internship. A year later, she was working full-time as a marketing coordinator at a startup. So what created that change? Not luck, not talent, not opportunity handed to her. It was momentum generated by a simple, disciplined hour each day. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. Momentum doesn't require giant leaps. It doesn't need massive energy. It just needs consistency. 1 hour a day might seem small in the moment, but it is the small wheel that sets the big engine of your life into motion. Once that engine starts, the same amount of effort begins to produce greater and greater results. You feel more capable, you take on bigger challenges, you make bolder decisions. Why? Because momentum makes what once felt hard now feel natural. It builds belief, it builds motion, and eventually it builds a new life. 1 hour a day creates momentum, and momentum changes everything. Your habits are the seeds you plant every single day, and whether you realize it or not, they are shaping your harvest. Every result in your life, good or bad, is not a coincidence. It's the product of what you consistently do, not what you occasionally try. One of the biggest misconceptions people have is that success comes from massive effort or rare moments of genius. But true success comes from the quiet, daily actions that align with your vision. And the most powerful way to create that alignment is to dedicate just 1 hour a day to building the right habits. When you set aside 1 hour a day for focused, intentional habits, you're not just managing time, you're creating identity. You are no longer someone who simply wants something. You are becoming the kind of person who acts in alignment with that desire. That shift is everything. You don't have to read 10 books in a week or wake up at 4 a.m. or work up 3 times a day to change your life. You just need to start doing the right things consistently. The most successful people in any field didn't get there by doing everything. They got there by doing the most important things and doing them over and over. The power of this hour comes from habit stacking. If you spend that hour each day reading books related to your field, journaling your goals, visualizing success, planning your week, learning your skill, or strengthening your body, you're creating a routine that aligns with your future. You're training your mind to focus, your body to follow, and your life to respond. It doesn't look flashy at first. No one claps for your quiet hour of discipline. But over time, those daily disciplines begin to bear fruit. Your thoughts become clearer. Your confidence grows. Your decisions improve. That's the harvest. Let me give you an example. Sarah was a mid-level accountant who felt stuck in a cycle. She worked long hours, came home drained, and couldn't find the motivation to grow professionally or personally. One day, she decided to commit to 1 hour each morning before work, not for her job, but for herself. In that hour, she journaled her intentions, read for 20 minutes, planned her top 3 goals, and spent 15 minutes learning about leadership and communication. Nothing dramatic happened in the first few weeks, but slowly her mindset shifted. She started suggesting ideas in meetings. She became more articulate. She asked for more responsibility. Within 6 months, her manager noticed the difference and recommended her for a promotion. In a year, she was leading her own team. What changed for Sarah? Not her intelligence, not her talent. Those were always there. What changed was her habits. She planted seeds in the quiet hour of the day, and eventually those seeds grew into opportunities and outcomes. She didn't need more time. She needed better use of her time. The truth is, your future is hidden in your daily routine. If your habits are in conflict with your dreams, you'll always feel stuck. But when your habits align with your purpose, success becomes inevitable. It may take time, and it may not look glamorous, but it works. Because discipline always produces a harvest. You just have to be willing to keep planting. So take that 1 hour. Make it sacred. Use it to build the habits that pull you toward your future. Because what you do daily is more powerful than what you do occasionally. Your habits are shaping your harvest, whether you like it or not. Choose wisely. Everyone wants a better life, but very few are willing to do what it takes to create one. This is where the difference between dreamers and doers becomes crystal clear. Dreamers talk about what they want, they imagine it, hope for it, even pray for it, but often stop short of taking consistent, focused action. Doers, on the other hand, understand that change doesn't happen just because you want it. Change happens when you show up even when you don't feel like it. 1 hour a day becomes the dividing line between those who wish and those who work. The world is full of people with big dreams. They want financial freedom, better health, deeper relationships, meaningful careers, or to live with purpose. But when you ask them what they're doing every day to get closer to that dream, there's often silence. And that's the problem. It's not the size of the dream that determines your future, it's your daily dedication to it. The truth is, you can't build a meaningful life on good intentions alone. And you need discipline, you need consistency, and most importantly, you need to move. 1 hour a day doesn't seem like much, which is why most people ignore its value. They believe they need to wait for the right time, a long weekend, a vacation, a new year before they can start working on their goals. But those delays are often just disguised fear or procrastination. Doers don't wait for perfect conditions. They use what they have. If all they have is 1 hour, they make that hour count. That's what separates them. 1 hour a day used with purpose is the bridge between potential and progress. Let's consider a simple but powerful example. Meet Adil, a 26-year-old with a full-time job in retail. He always dreamed of becoming a content creator and having his own podcast, but every time he thought about starting, he felt overwhelmed. He didn't have fancy equipment, he didn't have a studio, and he didn't have a big following. But instead of letting those things stop him, Adil decided to give just 1 hour a day to his dream. He used that hour every evening to study podcasting, write scripts, and practice speaking. He started recording short audio clips on his phone. After a few weeks, he uploaded his first episode on a free platform. It wasn't perfect, but it was done. Fast forward 6 months, Adil was consistently publishing 1 episode a week. He had a small but loyal audience. After a year, he had opportunities to speak at events and collaborate with influencers in his niche. People started asking him, how did you do it? And his answer was always the same, 1 hour a day. While others kept saying, one day I will, Adil said, today I will. That's the difference. That's the shift from dreamer to doer. Dreamers wait, doers act. Dreamers say someday, doers say now. That 1 hour a day becomes your weapon in a world full of excuses. You don't need to shout about your goals, you just need to work on them quietly, consistently, and with faith. Over time, that 1 hour compounds, your skills improve, your mindset strengthens, opportunities begin to open. You stop talking about change and start becoming the change. So if you want to stop being just a dreamer and start being a doer, commit to 1 hour a day. Use it to write, to learn, to train, to build, to pray, to serve. Whatever aligns with the life you want to create. Because at the end of the day, your life isn't built by what you say you'll do. It's built by what you actually do. Day by day, hour by hour, abilities into the miracles that are around us. The most powerful transformations in life don't happen in the spotlight. They happen in silence. In the moments when no one is watching, when there's no applause, no recognition, and no validation. It's in those private hours, especially the ones that feel ordinary or unseen, where greatness is built. The world sees the results, the stage moments, the polished outcome. But what they don't see is the quiet discipline that happens behind closed doors. The hour you dedicate daily to your growth, your learning, your calling, that hour is your appointment with destiny. And what you sow in private will, in time, grow in public. We live in a culture obsessed with visibility. People want their progress to be noticed, their effort to be appreciated, and their struggles to be acknowledged. But here's the truth most people avoid. If you're not willing to be disciplined when no one is clapping for you, you're not ready for the spotlight. The process must precede the platform. The hidden work you do now is the foundation for the public rewards you'll see later. And that takes patience. It takes faith. It takes a level of character that says, even if no one sees me building today, I know the harvest is coming. The danger is that many people give up too soon. They do the right things for a few days or weeks, and when the world doesn't respond fast enough, they stop. But growth doesn't always show up immediately. Seeds take time to grow. And just because nothing seems to be happening above the surface doesn't mean roots aren't forming underneath. If you stop too soon, you abort the process. But if you stay faithful to the hour, if you keep showing up to your craft, your calling, your quiet discipline, eventually the fruit will show. One of the clearest examples of this truth is a young man named Bilal. He was passionate about public speaking and wanted to become a powerful communicator, someone who could speak on big stages and impact lives, but he had no audience, no platform, and no formal training. Most people would have waited for an opportunity to show up. But Bilal decided to prepare in private. Every single day, he set aside 1 hour to practice speaking in front of a mirror. He studied the greats. He read books on communication. He recorded himself on his phone and critiqued every word, every pause, every gesture. There was no crowd, no stage. No one even knew what he was doing. But day by day, his confidence grew, his voice grew stronger, his message became clearer. 1 year later, he was invited to speak at a small youth event. His delivery was so polished, so passionate, that it felt like he had been speaking professionally for years. What no one knew was that they were witnessing the public harvest of countless hours of private sowing. People asked him, "How did you get so good?" The answer was simple. I trained when no one was watching. That's the secret. You don't rise to the level of your potential, you rise to the level of your preparation. What you practice in secret becomes power in public. You don't need recognition today, you need rhythm, you need commitment, you need the quiet kind of excellence that builds over time. So the hour you give each day, even if no one sees it, is never wasted. That's where your character is forged, your skills are sharpened, and your future is shaped. Stay faithful to that hour, because one day, when the lights finally shine on you and people wonder how you got there, your results will answer for you. You won't have to explain your worth, you'll walk in it. What you sow in private will, without fail, grow in public. Time is the most limited resource we have, yet it often feels like there's never enough of it. But the truth is, it's not just about how many hours you have, it's about what kind of energy and intention you bring into those hours. And nothing aligns your energy, sharpens your focus, and multiplies your time more than beginning your day with faith and purpose. When you give God the first hour of your day through prayer, reflection, gratitude, or planning, something powerful happens. Your day flows with clarity. Your distractions lose their grip. You stop reacting and start leading. You stop chasing time and start redeeming it. This principle isn't religious routine, it's about alignment. It's about placing yourself in the right posture at the beginning of the day so everything that follows is built on a solid foundation. It's about taking your eyes off the chaos of the world and fixing them on what matters. Faith at the start of your day doesn't mean life becomes easy, but it does mean you become anchored, focused, clear. And that clarity multiplies your time because it eliminates the wasted energy spent on confusion, doubt, or misaligned effort. People hustle through life trying to squeeze more out of their hours, stacking tasks and to-do lists, thinking productivity is just about doing more. But productivity is never just about doing more, it's about doing the right things in the right order with the right mindset. When you give God your first hour, you invite divine clarity into your decisions. You stop letting the urgent control your day and start letting the important define it. That's when you move from burnout to breakthrough. Let's take the story of Salman, a young entrepreneur trying to build his digital marketing agency. Like many ambitious people, he was always busy, checking emails first thing in the morning, jumping into meetings, replying to messages, managing clients. But despite working 12 to 14 hours a day, he constantly felt behind. His energy was scattered, his mind was cluttered, and his spirit was drained. One day, after a deep conversation with a mentor, he decided to try something radically different. Instead of starting his day in chaos, he dedicated the first hour before emails, before phone calls, before work to silence, scripture, journaling, prayer, and clear goal setting. At first it felt strange, like he was wasting time, but within a few weeks, everything shifted. Salman noticed he was making faster decisions, delegating better, communicating with more clarity, and actually finishing more work in less time. His stress levels dropped, his confidence grew. He found himself not only achieving more, but feeling more peace while doing it. And the only thing he changed was giving God the first hour of his day. That's what happens when you prioritize faith and focus. That one sacred hour becomes a multiplier for the rest of your day. You're no longer driven by anxiety, you're led by vision. You stop moving in circles and start moving in purpose. The world tells you to grind harder, to wake up and hustle, but wisdom says be still first, then move with clarity. Because 1 hour of alignment is worth more than 10 hours of scattered effort. When you give your best hour to God, not what's left over, but what's first, you're not losing time, you're investing it. You're positioning yourself to receive direction, wisdom, and strength that you wouldn't have otherwise. It's not about religion, it's about rhythm. A rhythm of surrender and strategy. A rhythm that brings results not just in your work, but in your mind, your relationships, and your spirit. That's why faith and focus don't just manage time, they multiply it.